up the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Lunch with the Clydesdale. So freaking stoked to be here with you today. Lots of Bears talk in the chat already. Am I muted? Am I muted? Let me double check my audio real quick. It says I'm good. Okay. So, I was actually just lip syncing with the pre-loaded sound, guys. That's all. So I probably threw you off. Anyway. So there it is. Yeah, I was lip syncing. I really threw you all off. Anyway, I'm so stoked to be here with you. The Bears had one hell of a playoff game this weekend. So much fun to watch for the second half. The first half was painful. And then, as they have done 6 previous times, came back from a big deficit to end up winning the game. I cannot believe we're having the season we're having. The throws that Caleb made in that game were mind-boggling. The talent on this team is something I'm not used to. But what I wanted to talk about briefly, I was kind of hoping Corey was going to jump on today because I wanted a little back and forth, but we'll do it this way. And that is, you know, they have this miraculous comeback. And if you're not a Bears fan or a Packers fan, it is the oldest rivalry in the NFL. The towns are only 45 minutes apart. It is insane. Married couples are split. It is just the oldest rivalry. The owners of the Bears have said over and over again, they really don't care about the season as long as they beat the Packers. It is like a college-esque rivalry. So anyway, at the end of the game, I'm going to share my screen, and customarily, the coaches come to midfield and do a handshake. And so I'm going to share this video with you guys. I think this is it. Okay. So that is Matt LaFleur. You can see there, he is the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. You'll see Ben Johnson come in and go to shake his hand. And I'm going to hit play here. And this is the fuss that has gone on.
Adler, Gordon took care of it. That's a very cursory handshake. No love lost between these. Adler, Gordon took care of it. That's a very cursory handshake. No love lost between these.
So, everybody's calling it the blow-by handshake. My question is, when did we care that when did it become a mandate that we had to go shake our opponent's hands after a game? I get it for like 8, 9, 10-year-olds in Little League that it's part of sportsmanship. And at that age, you shouldn't be taking things so seriously. But these guys are getting paid to beat one another. They have both admitted they do not like one another. They do not like the other team. Why is it that we then have to mandate that they actually come to the middle of the field after 60 minutes of battling each other out, whooping each other's ass, and then you have to come to the middle of the field and have a handshake? And then we read into, well, he blew by. They didn't stop and have a conversation. They don't like each other. Dick Vitale, the longtime ESPN basketball analyst, said that Ben Johnson ruined the magic of the comeback by doing this blow-off handshake and in a post-game locker room celebration said, F the Packers. I think Dick Vitale is way too old to be in touch with what's going on in the world. It is pure insanity to me that we put any relevance on any of this stuff. I love that we hate the Packers. I love that the Packers hate us. It means more when we beat the Packers, especially when we beat the Packers in the playoffs and come back from a 21-3 deficit and come all the way back to win the game. Why? I want my coach to say F the Packers. I want my coach to, and I just got done watching his press conference this morning, and he is standing by it all. He said he knows what this rivalry means. He knows what it means to the city of Chicago, and he hates that team. And everything he does is about beating that team. It just boggles my mind that we treat professional athletes who get paid like they're an 8-year-old little leaguer that has to go to school with Tommy tomorrow. So let's go shake his hand and say, good game. So I ask you, Chattanooga, I see it on every level. It's like the world wants to rid sports of competition, battle, healthy aggression, sad state of affairs. Kenneth the Lap, God forbid men be men. Well, and here's this, and I'm going to try to apply this to like the CrossFit world. I think one thing that the CrossFit space is missing is good old-fashioned trash talking where two competitors don't like one another. And we came close to that, I think, with Laura and Tia. But it never came to like full resolution because of Tia's pregnancy and then Laura boycotting the games. And so I find that when the trash talking is there and we have this sports hate, it's not life hate, it's sports hate for another team, it actually adds intrigue and it adds drama to the game that we're watching, and it makes things way more exciting. And I think that that's one thing that CrossFit needs to add. And Jody here is saying that Scott wanted to see a cat fight, typical guy. I don't care if it's on the men's side or the women's side, but I've said on the show over and over again, I want Laura back in the games. I want this competition. It sucks that Tia is pregnant, and it sucks that probably Laura isn't going to compete this year in the game season, but I wanted that back. I want to see some kind of intrigue and drama and trash talking between two athletes. And we almost had it with Ricky and Matt, and then Ricky popped for steroids, and now Ricky's come back a much gentler and nicer Ricky. So now we don't have that bad guy to root for. But the reason I kind of brought this up is, and here's Court. Let me, I can say with full chest, F the Falcons. I also hope Liverpool lose every match they play. Right. We have these things. I can honestly say I root for two college football teams. I root for Penn State and whoever Ohio State is playing. I can do that too. But last night we were doing the Sunday night show, and we brought up a pencil, pen, and Sharpie about will Pat Vellner return for the 26 CrossFit Games season. And a lot of people said pencil, a couple of people said pen. I said Sharpie. And it's probably more hopeful than anything, right? And Larry Young was in the chat, and he said, that all the people that decided not to do the 25 CrossFit game season, he just doesn't care about anymore and doesn't want to root for anymore. And he's entitled to that opinion. And that's a fine opinion. I personally want everybody back together so we have the best athletes in the space going up against each other. But I would want to ask Larry this. If you don't like Pat Vellner anymore because he did that, why not welcome him back and root against him? Rooting against somebody sometimes has more passion than rooting for somebody. And if you have someone that you really like and someone that you think is awesome, you can root for that person to beat the person you dislike. Instead of saying, let's not welcome them back, why not welcome them back and root for them to lose if that's the opinion you have? That's not necessarily my opinion. I think that Pat has done so much for this sport over his tenure that if he had 1 week that made him 1 year that he decided to do one thing, I'm not going to discredit all the good he's done for the sport. And it's funny because Kenneth actually brought up my next point. Just make him a heel, even if it's only in your mind. Yeah, like if you grew up like me watching wrestling all the time, when your favorite wrestler turned heel, it was shocking. It was shocking when they went heel, and you had to make the choice. Do I now root for the bad guy that's the heel, or do I root against my old favorite who turned heel and hope that he loses? Either way, it's generally a passionate decision. And I think it adds intrigue to the drama and the storyline of the event. Larry Young says WWF versus WCW. I think it's even more than that. Like when Hulk Hogan went heel, that was a huge dramatic thing in the world of wrestling and probably sports. Hulk Hogan, the all-American hero, the saying his prayers and eating his vitamins and doing all that kind of stuff. And when he turned heel, like the wrestling world lost its damn mind. And if you watch the Vince McMahon documentary, it was the pivot point that actually made WCW a viable contender to the WWE. And so when these things happen, you can capitalize on them and make things more popular. So Larry responds, I like Pat. He was one of my favorites, but when they change leagues, it's like baseball. I pay attention to my league. And I'm not, again, like Larry, I get why you feel the way you do, and it's fine. I just ask you, why not want him back so you can then root against him? I think that brings more and more passion to the table. And you're going to have people like Ortega who still love Pat. And that's what makes it great, right? Then you have these discussions and these debates and things on shows like this or live in an event when you love someone and they hate somebody and you're rooting for and against the same person. Chelsea Miller, honestly, how great is it when Fee beats Danielle Brandon in a workout? It makes it so much better. See, I think that's a great point, Chelsea, and it's one that I forgot to bring up. So thank you so much for that. The Fee Danielle thing is real. Like Fee is in the comments making her points. And Fee is not the person I would have suspected to be the antagonist with Danielle Brandon. But it's cool because they are polar opposites from one another. Fee is one of the nicest people you will ever meet, and her public persona matches that. Danielle Brandon's public persona is let's burn the house down, and it is a perfect yin and yang thing. What would make it epic is if Fee got to a point where she was competitive with Danielle on the regular. what makes the rivalry even better is when both teams are on the same level. For years, the Packers whooped up on the Bears. We were the nail to their hammer, and it was not a good rivalry. The Bears have turned things around. They now have, in the last 5 games, they are up 3-2. All 5 games have come down to the final 2 minutes. That is a good rivalry. That means something. When you get someone, and this is completely hypothetical, I am not putting this out into the universe, but just say Jason Hopper and Dallin Pepper have a falling out, and they're both on the same level, and now they hate each other, and it becomes this interesting, dramatic thing that happens in the sport. What I loved about CrossFit when I first came in is that it was a very supportive community and very wholesome. And 15 years in, I'm like, man, I just want a little bit of edge, in the sports side, not in the, like, I want to lose weight or I want to get strong and I go to my affiliate every single day. In the sport, I just want a little bit more of that Fee Danielle thing that happens. So Joseph Ramirez, I wanted Pat to win the games at one point. Now I hope he doesn't make it to the games. See, I want him back, and I want him to make the games, and I want him to be a disruptor. Mark Phillips is still on the Uncle Pat train. See, we have all these differing opinions. That's what makes this beautiful. You guys are making my point so eloquently in these comments. I think it is awesome. Larry says, but if Pat comes back, I won't hope he does bad. But yes, I cheer for someone to beat Laura. Chelsea brings up, I think Laura and Gabby are the closest we have to that. That one I actually had in my mind as a potential great rivalry, but Laura has to compete in the game season. She has to make it mean something. Vicky, a little drama is good for sports. I totally agree. Totally agree. Corey says, I still stand on Jeff Adler saying, I don't give a shit who wins the next event so long as it isn't him. About and to Matt Frazier in the 2020 CrossFit Games. That's the kind of energy we need. And I don't want it to be that's all the energy. We just need some. We just need some good energy. That's when Jeff was cool. Larry says, the open now I could get way fitter, and it's not to show if more people sign up, with it just being all like cardio. Okay. So yeah. That was like the main thing I wanted to talk about. The last thing on my Bears, the one thing that's blowing my mind is I actually have a team with a quarterback who has an it factor. That has never been the case in my lifetime. Jim McMahon for a year or two, but then he got broken down too much. But other than that, the Bears have never had a quarterback with an it factor. And to watch Caleb Williams every week do the stuff that he does is off the chain amazing. And I love it. I love the bullish attitude, in his press conference, speaking about what we did, He said the Packers wanted us. They wanted us. They kept saying they wanted us. Well, they got us, and we're here to stay. That's the quarterback I want. Vicky, every great movie needs a protagonist and an antagonist. Sometimes it's a full-on villain. Sometimes it's not quite as in your face, but both are needed for a great story. Couldn't have said that better myself. Corey, just needs someone with that kind of energy to shake things up. Someone to say, you know what? F that guy. Larry said, Jeff was cool when talking shit in Russian. Here's what I think about Jeff. We didn't get the real Jeff last year. Jeff was hurt. Jeff was working through some things, and because of that, he wasn't able to give everything he had at last year's games. I hope we get the Jeff from Rogue. The Jeff from Rogue was talking smack. He was getting some confidence back. I hope that he gets whatever injuries he's been working through healed in time for the 26 CrossFit Games season. Because I think him added to the mix. Right now we have this group of guys, the Boys Interrupted group, that all hang out together, that all support each other, that all do all of that stuff, right? Jeff doesn't hang out with them. It's not that they hate each other. It's not that they dislike each other. He's just not part of that clique, right? And at least it gives us that. This guy that can disrupt what they have going on over here, this group of four. Because the group of four could dominate for a while as a group unless somebody like Jeff Adler or Colton Mertens or Ricky Garrard or Jay Crouch jump into that mix and mess that up. So maybe it's more of a disruptor to the clique than an individual versus individual thing. Yeah, Chelsea said Jeff was fully checked out at the games. I think once whatever he was going through went, he just knew he didn't have it to compete. And he lost a lot of motivation that weekend. And it was sad to see. The one down thing of having the full access in the warm-up area, I got to see him back there. And his demeanor changed dramatically from day one to day two. And that's why I was really hopeful at Rogue when he won. And in the process, you could tell there was more confidence in whatever body part was hurt, that he was able to get through that pain-free at the time. Chelsea also says, personally, I think the Boys Interrupted group may save Justin's career. I do not disagree with that statement. But I do think that all the amazing things they are doing for the sport, and it's a lot. It is a lot. They are really going OG. James and Dallin and Jason doing all these videos and going with Dave to different events and all of that stuff. And Justin doing the tour of the affiliates on the way to Wadapalooza SoCal. And I think they're doing so much for the sport. But anytime you get that much attention, there's going to be content fatigue. So then there's going to be a group that want someone like a Jeff Adler or a Colton Mertens or a Jay Crouch to interrupt what's going on there. I don't know if it's going to happen this year. I don't know if it's going to happen next year. But at some point, people are going to start rooting for someone to kind of take that away from them. It's just the way sports are. When the Patriots won their first Super Bowl, I wanted them to win so bad. They had been bad for so long. And then they won their second, and then they won their third, and then I just wanted anybody to beat the Patriots. And so that happens all the time. Same thing happened with the Chiefs. The Chiefs had been so bad for so long. I wanted them to win a Super Bowl. And then they start winning a lot, and you're like, okay, now it's been enough. Now I need someone to come in and stop you from doing this. And I think because the Boys Interrupted all hang out together, we lump them together. So they have won 4 of the last 5 CrossFit games. Is there going to be a point where now we look at them as a group and say, I want somebody to disrupt this group of 4 from continuing to win? I think it's all how we look at it from certain perspectives. I'm a huge Dallin Pepper fan. I've picked him to win the games this year. I think that's my pick, and that's who I'm rooting for this season. I hope that happens. But at some point, I just wonder if the fatigue of that group hits people and they start rooting against them instead of for them. And maybe that won't happen. You have people like Rich Froning, who people never got tired of. Never got tired of. You have people like Matt Fraser, who people got tired of. People loved his brashness at the beginning. And then they just wanted somebody to compete with him. Ortega says, I've never thought of them as a group. I just see them as dudes with a podcast, like cars and comedians. I disagree with you, because I think they train together when they can. They go hang out together when they can. And I think they truly are friends outside of the podcast. If you watch behind the scenes, they're in the warm-up areas together. They're doing, and then 3 of them are brute athletes. They all are coached by the same people. Justin is different. He's coached by somebody else. So I do think there will be a large section of the CrossFit community that look at them as a group of 4. Mike DeVito, they're the 3 amigos of CrossFit. I would say the cuatro amigos of CrossFit. But the plus side of this is, and if you're a fan of them, I think their friendship, partnership has made them all better. I think all 4 of them are better athletes because of that friendship relationship. So I am sure it's doing them way more good than bad. I'm just saying there is a natural desire for drama in sports. And I think that any reason to dislike somebody, to root against them, you will find. Wayne says, I was surprised that the other 3 didn't show up to support James's event this weekend. If you've watched any of their stuff lately, they are so freaking busy. I want to say one of them said they're not even going to be home for like 3 or 4 weeks. Like the insanity of their schedules right now, with sponsors and stuff they're doing for CrossFit and things like that is pure insanity. Chris Love, the Boys Interrupted could be like the 4 Horsemen from WCW. Very good analogy. Very good analogy. Mark Phillips, we kind of had this with Olson Smith Mayer. That would have been a good podcast team, perhaps. Possibly. I don't know if they would be as forthcoming as what these 4 have been. These 4 have truly given us a peek into what it's like to be an athlete and what is required of athletes, way more than I think those 3 would have let us into. Ortega says Dallin and Jason were in Austin. Justin is in California, then doing stuff with CrossFit. Yeah, their schedules are like super crazy. I mean, James didn't even go watch his dad at the Masters CrossFit Games because he had a commitment to a friend's wedding. Like their schedules are so tight that they have to make difficult decisions sometimes. So I'm happy that CrossFit is actually utilizing them. That brings up a great point, Vicky. Like, I am so glad that CrossFit is utilizing them. I just wish CrossFit would do more utilization of things that are going on. You know, we talked about it last night that this week the US government flipped the food pyramid and is waging war on added sugars and processed carbohydrates. There's been nothing posted by CrossFit about that. How can you not take advantage of the media that is out about that right now? The thing you've been fighting for since the inception of this methodology is you got a government agency to admit that it's been right all along. And nothing on the CrossFit site. That I do think that the efforts with the CrossFit media department have been moving in the right direction, but that's a big miss. There it is right there. Okay. So Chattanooga said they did post something today. But when was that announced? That was what? Tuesday or Wednesday of last week? Tuesday or Wednesday of last week? And it's taken you a week to get something up? It's just awful. Ken Walters, a private equity group before sale doesn't want something possibly political connected to it. Politically, or there's so much political around the CrossFit and what it is and what it stands for. You can't avoid it. So why play dumb? Playing dumb just is not the way to. I don't know. Personally, I just wanted to see a big "I told you so" banner on their website. Chattanooga agreed. They are not a nimble team on socials, and it's unfortunate. And I am sure that what Ken is saying is partly correct. That they are a private equity firm, and the levels of approval to get something posted are probably something we cannot understand. I work for government. I work for state government. For me to post something publicly, I have to get 18 signatures on it before I can do it. It's so stupid. And I'm sure that the private equity firm is doing the same thing to them, handcuffing them in what they can post. But this has been like the North Star of this company forever. To then not even acknowledge that you got one of the biggest wins you could ever get should have been exempted in all of that sign-off shit. All of it. Mike DeVito, this is the HQ staff that did literally nothing with the decision in the courts proving NSCA lied. They collected the settlement money. They did that part, Mike. Vicky agreed. They need to embrace it. Everyone went gaga over the new marketing lady at HQ, but she's been AWOL on everything. I wouldn't say AWOL on everything, Jody. They are posting stuff. And this has been my thing for the last couple of weeks on the shows is that I do think it's heading in a direction that is positive. Do I think it's fast enough? No. Do I think it is accurate enough? No. Do I think it's getting the job done fully? No. I do think it's missing parts. I do think it can be tweaked in a better way. But they're like in the last week after I bitched about no marketing for the Open, in the last week, they've been blowing up socials with the Open stuff. So they are doing stuff and they are creating stuff. It's just taking more time than I would like. And it's not necessarily exactly what I would want it to be. Vicky sums it up better than I did. Better than it was, not as good as it could be. Yeah. Just another example of the buyers having no clue what CrossFit is. Chattanooga, there is also a post on Wasted on Instagram about a newborn only being comforted by being held while doing air squats because the mom did CrossFit through her pregnancy. I'm okay with that stuff being out there, but there's also important stuff that's being missed. I am sure that is not the case, Ken Walters. I am sure. I'm sure it was just timing. This isn't the CrossFit of old where it was owned by one person. I know. And that's why I'm saying, Ortega, that like I work for government, which is a big entity, and everything is political that we talk about. Everything takes 18 levels of approval. And I'm sure the board of directors at CrossFit want the same thing that I deal with every day. Chattanooga, Wasted is a big pop culture page. I'm saying CrossFit HQ should have reshared it. That's the stuff that like really kind of gets me. And I think Hiller's brought it up in the past. They want to recreate, they like the Tyson Bagent thing when he went to his press conference talking about CrossFit, about when he retires from the NFL, he wants to be a CrossFit coach and become jacked. They went and they scheduled a meeting with him. They scheduled a shoot. They did all this stuff. It took like 3 months to get it out. They could have just reshared that video, and they never did. They never did. Could have just reshared this, tagged it with a little phrase, reshared it. And they don't. They waste their time trying to polish everything up. And when it could just be a simple reshare. When that came out, they should have just shared the clip of saying, we are waging war on processed sugar or on new added sugar and processed carbohydrates. Just that clip, post it. Don't need to add anything to it. Don't need to polish it. Just post that clip of those 8 words or whatever it is. We are waging war against added sugar and processed carbohydrates. That's it. 8 seconds. That's it. Vicky asks, is it me or does it sometimes feel like there are 2 different trains riding on the same track when it comes to CrossFit socials? Chattanooga agrees with you. Vicky says social media sometimes feels bipolar. It doesn't feel like things are being stated from one entity. Well, I do think that there's a sports side, there is a training and methodology side that don't always go hand in hand, but they should be at least like on parallel tracks. I think that I hear what you're saying about the political thing, but the nutrition aspect of this, you have been fighting as an entity for 25 years and you won. You got a win that nobody ever thought would happen. Just share it. It's not political. It's just something that happened that agrees with what you have posted your theory of nutrition to be. You know what? It doesn't matter what you post, Andrew. You're going to piss somebody off regardless. You can put out the most benign post ever, and it is going to piss somebody off. So fear of pissing people off is a very bad way to go about things. If you're worried about pissing people off, you're going to speak to no one. You say it was Greg fighting, not the current owners, but they are still posting. They made shirts just at last year's games about the meat and veggies, and it's on a shirt saying eat meat and vegetables. They still post the fitness in 100 words, which starts with the nutrition piece. So you can say it was Greg, but they are standing by it in other ways. Why wouldn't you take this win? That would be the biggest marketing ploy ever. We've had the answer for 25 years. People are finally following suit. Come check it out at our box. I can rant all I want, but that's the nature of business. Well, I rant because that's why I do a podcast. And yes, there are a lot of companies that fail, but there are also a lot of companies that don't. And we've talked about this in the past. If you don't have a North Star or you don't have that thing to fight for, you're not going to matter. You're not going to matter. Nobody's going to give a shit what you have to say if you stand for nothing. If you want to stand by the affiliates and you want to give them the marketing they deserve, being a part of your affiliate system, you need to stand for something. And the thing you have stood for 25 years was agreed to by a government agency. And if there was any time at all where you were going to then stand for something, you could have shared that post. You didn't make the post, you just shared the post. And if you piss off somebody, so be it. But there are a ton of people out there looking for answers. And those answers came in that statement. And how to get those answers every day is to go to an affiliate and learn more. And there it was. It was all out there for you, and you let it go by. Or you waited a week for it to go by. I still haven't seen what they put out today. I'll have to go look for it. But again, they just waited too damn long. Vicky says, exactly, Scott. PE is very scared of pissing people off instead of just embracing the history and methodology and letting that story ring true. And I'll just end it with, if you don't stand for anything, nobody's going to give a shit. Larry says, Andrew, after almost every podcast, I think I just need to stop commenting. but I'm like, someone needs to say this after I'm like, Larry, no one cares. Just be quiet. Listen, Larry, you motivated this podcast today about having rivalries and wanting to root against people because of a comment you made last night. Don't think that it doesn't make an impact. It made an impact. I literally was laying in bed last night like, that's what I need to do the show on. I need to do it on that. Of course, there was the handshake that kind of added to that and the whole Pat Vellner discussion. But your comments, actually, I listen to them all. And I think about them in the evening. And I think about them when I'm creating these shows and coming up with topics for us to talk about. So never, ever feel like nobody cares or nobody's listening. You inspired what we did today on this show. Just with your comments last night about not liking the athletes that sat out last year. I appreciate all your comments. But we're a hangout show. We're going to have differing opinions. And I love that we get to hang out and discuss them right here on the show each and every day. Half of the stuff we talked about today wasn't even in a note. I've got notes that we never even touched. But I love this because we talked about the stuff you guys wanted to talk about. So thank you for participating. Continue to participate. And Andrew Sten knows that I just like to talk about him. I talk about stuff with him. I've known Andrew for a long time. We have these same debates and discussions in person that we do in this chat. I appreciate his opinion, and he's probably right in most cases with companies not doing what they should do. But anyway, it is what it is. You guys are the best. I love hanging out with you guys each and every day. Hey, don't forget to get the best recovery and sleep aid in the business. That's Thirdzy. You can get that at thirdzy.com/Jazzy. That gets you 15% off your order, or go to thirdzy.com, use the promo code Jazzy to get 15% off. It is the best stuff in the business. It's the only thing that stops me thinking about what you guys say in the comments and lets me get a good night's sleep. It's melatonin free. It's got grass-fed collagen in it. It's awesome stuff. You're going to love it. And with that, we'll talk about the other stuff tomorrow. With that, have a great day, guys. I'm going to get back to work. You knuckleheads get back to work too. We'll see you tomorrow on lunch with the Cloud.